Welcome to the Career Coach channel, where we discuss how to become the best version of yourself in your professional and personal lives. Today we have a compilation video where we will discuss where woke revolutionary claims that being on time is white supremacy. But I'm going to compile it with other videos and show you how dangerous the dog whistles of racism from the left and the woke revolutionaries are hurting minorities from getting into the entry level to the corporate boardroom of America. There's desperately few of us that have made it to senior level positions. I'm a VP at a major corporation. I can safely tell you that it's taken me probably a third longer than it should have had I been white. Yes, there's racism out there, but it's these negative stereotypes that are propagated by the left and by these woke revolutionaries that give all the racists out there an excuse not to hire us, not to let us advance, because they're confirming every negative bias out there. Before we dive into this video, I'd like to ask you to like, subscribe, and share this video. Let's dive into this.
Hey, this is my own comment, and it's in reference to the video that I did about punctuality and white culture. I'm pretty sure if you tap it, it'll take you back to the original video. But I wanted to expound on this a little bit. Specifically, I wanted to challenge white people to expand their thinking on this topic. The most common type of comment that I saw in the original video was some version of, "I'm white and I'm always late." I don't think that people were trying to refute the premise of the original video, but I do think that white people were trying to distance themselves from this particular feature of white culture. Here's where I want y'all to dig a little bit deeper. This is something that I notice white people do a lot whenever we talk about whiteness. There's an acknowledgement that a certain type of whiteness exists, but also an attempt to say, oh no, I'm not that type of white person. Here's the problem with that. A lot of times whenever you try to distance yourself from an aspect of whiteness, you're actually reinforcing that aspect of whiteness. So going back to the original example, when you say that you're late, you're still operating under dominant cultured constructs of time and punctuality.
Let me tell you something. I don't subscribe to any of this lunacy. Calling people out by their race, stereotyping, all it does is drive a wedge between the races. It doesn't bring us together. I think it's nonsense, and I think that people like this just need to quietly go away, because I could almost guarantee you're a loser. That's just my humble opinion. You're a loser, and instead of accepting and stepping up to the challenge that America brings to everyone, you just want to whine and cry and use race as a cover for your inadequacies.
You're still being white about it. Here's what you missed. There are people who view the world very differently from you. And so you have to train your brain to be able to see things from a different perspective. Out that different cultures have different understandings of time, lateness, and what it means to be polite. Without fail, a white person will push back and say that lateness is impolite.
So I'm Hispanic. So what do you tell me? I got some deep-seated white supremacy inside of me because I think it's inconsiderate and impolite to show someone that you don't have any respect for their time? It's ludicrous.
I always use this as a teachable moment. I usually ask a series of pointed questions that challenge their assumptions. Sometimes it takes a lot of work, but by the end they're able to identify how white cultural dominance works in this one small area of life, which opens the door for them to start peeling the onion.
So yes, let's start peeling back the onion. Coming up is one rebuttal, and then I'm going to come up with my own rebuttals to prove how this mentality hurts minorities. Yes, it actually hurts minorities from getting into corporate boardrooms. There's desperately few of us out there, and this kind of nonsense and the fact that she's out there making a living telling people that we're so inept that we can't tell time, that minorities can't show up on time, is insulting.
A white person will push back and say that lateness is impolite. I always use this as a teachable moment. I usually ask a series of pointed questions that challenge their assumptions. By the end, they're able to identify how white cultural dominance works in this one small area of life, which opens the door for them to start peeling the onion.
Yeah, somebody's definitely peeling onions, because everything I just heard stinks. I would just love to see the evidence for how punctuality was invented by white people. Being on time is not exclusive to white people, and being late is not exclusive to black people. It's called not being a narcissist and acknowledging, observing, as well as respecting someone else's time. You know, black time isn't a real thing, right? It's just something that some black people use and say to make it seem as if being late is somehow quirky and fashionable and inherent to their nature. When in reality, late people exist within all races and ethnicities. This isn't inherent whatsoever, and they just need an explanation for why they love wasting everybody's time. Being on time is not about upholding supremacy. It's about respect and being socially aware enough to acknowledge those around you. But if you want to make the argument that white people have a monopoly on respect and human decency, go ahead, I guess.
Peep this. So 6 months ago, I made this video talking about the aspect of white culture that I get the most pushback on whenever I do anti-racism workshops. And people were big upset at the time. People were so upset about what I said at the time. And 6 months later, it might not be that long. I feel like I did it sometime last fall, whenever it was. But people are still upset and they are still carrying on in the comments about this. And because I guess I have some videos that are doing well, this video is like popping back up in people's algorithm. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, because people are so upset. White people are so upset in the comments of this video. And I just really need for y'all to be for real right now. Be for freaking real.
Let's get for real, because you can tell this is really pissing me off. Because being on time and being courteous and being responsible is not isolated to whites. And it is very offensive to me as a Hispanic that anybody could throw such a wide blanket and say that it's only isolated to white people that would get offended by you or anyone else being late and wasting our time. So let's get real. Let's take a look at a study by Investopedia, Corporate Leadership by Race. I've highlighted in red, out of 682 companies, 73 people of color have hold the position of CFO. And that's an all-time high of 11%. Another study shows that Hispanics, like myself, are down from 23 from a year before. Another study shows that only 20 Hispanics serve as chief executive officers, and that's down from 23 from the year before. While African Americans make up 13.4% of the country, only 6 were CEOs in 2021, up from 5 in 2020. The number of Black CEOs remained virtually the same, oscillating around 4 to 7 CEOs for the last 18 years. So this kind of nonsense that you're spewing hurts everyone. Think about it. You have this young gentleman applying to become the new CFO, CEO of your multi-billion-dollar company that's heavily regulated. Coming late on a major project can cost hundreds of millions of dollars and lost wages and productivity. Turning in reports late can result in multi-million-dollar fines by regulators. And you're saying that time doesn't matter? There's no consequences to it? You think a federal regulator is going to sit there and go, oh, wait a minute. The CFO or the CEO is African American. He runs on his own timeline. Hell no. What the racist and the bigots out there will do is say, hey, I heard this young woman say that it may be a risk that we may have problems with delivery. And because of that risk, we're not even going to take the chance. See how that works? Your dog whistle negatively impacts every minority community out there. And it just really pisses me off. We take a look at the IRS, and guess what? The deadline for filing your taxes in 2023 is the same for everybody. It doesn't vary by some kind of federal tax table for when your tax returns are due based on your race or ethnicity. Shit, what are we going to do then? What about your time constructs then? How does this make any sense whatsoever? Go further into the stems, medicine. Many IV medications, I was a paramedic firefighter, I could tell you, goes by milligrams per kilograms over a period of time. If you can't tell time and you have your own version of space-time, you can kill somebody. Because that would just be called direct negligence because you're not doing your job as prescribed. In the real world, time is money. Time is life. You just can't blow that off. If you're a loser and you have no responsibilities, then you can waste all the time you want. Nobody cares. But if you're trying to make it big in America where you're making the big money, you need to be spot on, responsible. You need to be a person of integrity and to be able to turn shit in on time. People got to be able to count on you.
tell me that I was being inconsiderate. I've had people telling me all sorts of things about myself and justifying away for themselves this thing that I'm just saying. There's a cultural difference between Black people and white people and how we perceive time and how we interact with time.
I don't buy this nonsense for a minute, because if telling time was such a big issue that would cause people's perceptions to interfere with their family relationship, jobs, and everything else in life, then you would think you'd be able to go to Amazon or eBay and find a watch, and I love watches, be able to find a watch out there to go, you know what? We tell time based on your ethnicity so that you're never late, and we help you perceive time correctly with the rest of the universe, because we always want you to be successful. It's nonsense, folks. That doesn't exist. Being lazy and being inconsiderate, it's just you.
Very simple. And I'm telling this story. I am in an interracial marriage.
Oh, what? That you're in an interracial marriage? Me too. First generation Hispanic, sitting right here. My wife's from West Virginia, from the Appalachian Mountains. And guess what? Time's the same way here in Atlanta, Georgia, as it does in West Virginia. Imagine that. Jesus.
And I talked about the first time that I went to Thanksgiving dinner with my husband and his family, and we were late. I didn't realize that we were going to be late. We were late by like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever the heck the time frame was. It was like really close to me to the start of the event. And we show up and his family has already sat down and they have already started getting their food and eating. And I'm completely bewildered because I'm like, the thing started at noon and it's like 12:10, it's 12:15, whatever time it was. We're here. Why is food started? Because in my cultural context, if we say that food started at noon, food don't start at noon. Food at the absolute earliest that you're going to be eating, the absolute earliest, we say noon, the earliest you're going to be eating is 1:30.
What do you think the odds are that you get an entire family served, seated, drinks, everything ready to eat in under 10 minutes for a Thanksgiving dinner? You may start serving at noon, but usually it takes about a good 15 to 20 minutes at least to get everybody seated, especially if you've got kids. It's going to take you damn near 20, 25 minutes to get everybody herded, seated, served. So I'm willing to bet money, just call me crazy, I am willing to bet money that it was more like you were over an hour late. And that's why they just had to get the dinner started, because the food was going to get cold. And again, it was rude to have everybody wait and the food to get cold because you couldn't have your ass to Thanksgiving dinner on time. Let's be real.
I said that. And so anyway, I said that. I made a cultural faux pas because I didn't know what was going on. And so I said that this is that example is something that gets so much pushback from white people. So what happens in the comments? People start pushing back. And so it's much easier for these white people to believe that I'm lying, that I'm making up the story, that I'm rude and inconsiderate, than it is for them to take a moment to think, oh my gosh, maybe there's a cultural difference. No, time has zero racial component. Come on, be for freaking real, my God.
Yes, I am being for real, and I'm Hispanic, and there is no racial component to time. Now, I'm going to jump into our next video compilation. When you tie this all together, it's really going to piss you off, because you're going to see how the woke and the progressive liberals with their dog whistles, with their racism and low expectations that they propagate throughout media and through corporate America, and how it's hurting us. Let's dive into this next video, and then we'll tie it up at the end.
I'm Ami Horowitz, and I'm here in Berkeley, California to find out if voter ID laws suppress the black vote. Do you have an opinion on voter ID laws?
Yeah, they're usually pretty racist and they're bad. I think voter ID laws are a way to perpetuate racism.
Would you go as far as say those laws are racist?
For sure.
Do you think it suppresses the African American vote?
Definitely.
Tell us how.
Because they're less likely to have state IDs.
Now I have to take a minute to talk about this guy. Look at the smugness in his body language and how he talks about minorities. Now imagine sitting across the table from this guy during an interview, and he would swear, people like him would swear, you're not racist, but they come with an ass load of preconceived about you, your background, your challenges, your competencies. And that's why I'm so against this wokeness being pushed down the throats of corporate America that typecast minorities in a negative light. This is just what these idiots are looking for. An excuse so they can feel good about themselves. And why didn't give you a job? Because they always feel like you're just not quite ready. We all know the struggles you went through. It doesn't matter how competent you are or how accomplished you are, because they always look at you through the prism of racism. Not about your merits, one single focus of racism. And it's absolutely nauseating that these liberals will not let us get past this.
Minority voters are less likely to have the kinds of IDs that have been described or required.
These type of people don't live in areas with easy access to DMVs or other places where they can get identification.
You can always get IDs you do over the internet. Is that also would make it difficult for black people in particular?
Yeah, you have to have access to the internet. You have to be able to pay an internet service provider for certain fees.
Do you think that's harder for black people to go online?
Well, I feel like they don't have the knowledge of how it works.
A lot of people have smartphones, but you might not have data.
For most of the communities, they don't really know what is out there just because they're not aware or they're not informed.
I also think there's a repression of black voting with how if you're a convicted felon, you're not allowed to vote and everything. And when you look at swing states like Florida, that's a huge population of the African American.
And we're going to start piecing this together. So in the previous video, we have somebody defending the fact that minorities, particularly African Americans, cannot be and deliver things on time because they have their own perception of time. You have these liberals running around saying that minorities are too stupid to be able to get IDs for themselves. They can't use the internet. See this picture that I'm painting? So you have a group of people who can't be on time, aren't smart enough to get IDs. They can't use the internet. You going to trust them with your billion-dollar company? Hell no. You going to trust them as a director, VP, CFO, CEO? No. That last young lady that said that the number of felons in the state of Florida that are, probably minorities are so high that it could actually swing the electoral college for that state. That's pretty damn racist. Almost willing to bet money she's working at HR somewhere for some big corporation.
Now I'm here in East Harlem to ask black people their thoughts on what you just heard. Do you have ID normally? You carry ID around?
Yes, I have state ID.
Do you carry ID?
Yes, I do.
Do you know any black person who doesn't carry ID?
No. Everyone that I know has an ID. Why would they think we don't have ID?
That's a lie. Why would they say that?
Do you have ID?
Yes.
Because I have my ID and my friends have their ID, so we know what we need to carry around.
Everybody that I know have ID. That's one of the things you need to walk around with New York with, ID.
Do you know any black adult who does not have ID?
No, I don't.
Is it a weird thing to even say that?
Yes, it is.
What is this, some type of trick candy camera?
I know, right?
That's the only thing I brought with me.
Those are legit IDs. I heard a lot also that black people can't figure out how to get to the DMV.
Really?
What does that say to you?
I know it's that, on 25th Street.
Do you know where the DMV is around you?
It's on 125th Street and 3rd Avenue, I believe.
You know how to get there?
Yeah.
Would you have a problem getting there if you had to get there?
No.
I know these sound like silly questions. You know how to get to the DMV?
Of course.
You know where it is?
Yes.
You can get there?
Uh-huh.
No problem.
No problem.
Just checking.
Okay.
And I also heard a lot that black people, especially poor black people, have no access to the internet, can't figure out how to use the internet.
That's just stupidity, honestly. Everybody has access to the internet. Even a little kid could figure out how to work the internet.
I had access to the internet for years.
You know how to use it properly, right?
Exactly. I do it at work. So, of course, I know how to use it. My kids know how to use it. They all have iPads, iPods, whatever.
Your phone has data?
Mm-hmm.
You can actually
unlimited.
Unlimited data.
Mm-hmm. I use my phone as a hotspot.
What does that say to you for the people who have this perception of black people?
They're pretty much ignorant. That's what my thought process was.
I just think that's ignorant. Ignorant.
Ignorant. That's the word I'm hearing a lot.
Ignorant.
Ignorant.
Very, very ignorant.
Does it sound racist for somebody to say that?
I think it is a little racist because, you know, you're putting people in a category and you have no idea what you're talking about.
Maybe a little bit of racist in it, but like I said, I think it's more stupidity and ignorance.
You're judging somebody, like, what, you're judging them because they black, saying that they don't got it?
What people are they talking to?
Now, as someone who succeeded in corporate America as a first-generation Hispanic, I've had to fight every one of these standard stereotypes that come from the left. You don't have to work as hard. You have to work 5 times as hard as the next guy because you've got a nonstop barrage of dog whistles and downright statements saying you aren't smart enough, you ain't good enough, and you can't succeed without the great white savior. And that sucks because I can make it on my own merits. Thank you very much. As a career coach, and I reach out to the Hispanic community and African Americans that come to me as customers, these are the things that I have to train young people on how to navigate the system around this nonsense. There's ways around it, but it's not easy. I'm not going to say, oh yeah, it's, I've got the magic answer, but I've been able to successfully navigate around some of this nonsense. You can get there. My goal for my consulting company is to help everyone reach their full potential. But you also have to understand who the bad guys are. Who are the ones that are making it harder for you to succeed? Point them out, call them out, and tell them to stop the nonsense. The links to the original videos will be in the description box below. I appreciate your time and thank you for visiting. Please like and subscribe and share this video.